We are live and on camera. I hope. Are you seeing it, Red?
It says stream is starting soon. We got. Oh,
Okay,
I heard you say we are live.
2 seconds, 3 second latency.
Okay, I can hear both of us on stream too. Amazing.
Cool. All
It
right.
worked.
That 40-minute setup on my end.
I mean, 40 minute setup, but to be fair, we don't do it regularly, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm just relearning it every time whenever we do.
exactly, exactly. It's like if yeah, you learn something, and then you're like every 5 months or 3 months, you're like, oh, we'll do it again.
Yeah. Cool. How's it going?
So it's going all right, not too bad. How about yourself? Busy. Sure, everyone's been busy with work, but
Yeah.
it's just life now.
Yeah. For sure. Hopefully, it's like a routine that people kind of click into and it kind of gets more normal over time, but it's never fun. Unless you do something you enjoy, which neither one of us I don't think is doing just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm happy that the subject area is at least something I'm interested in, but I'm sure the actual like nitty gritty details of my job can be challenging, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Enough about work. Should be a pretty quick chat. I'm actually still on the clock-ish.
It's fair, same here. So hopefully, no one from our workplaces are gonna like stumble on this. So it doesn't really matter,
We're product testing and doing market research. That's what um, I want to start off with free website or the website. Um, it's like a year overdue, but I don't really care. I'm on my own timeline now. Um, Here's kind of what I'm thinking. So this is the homepage, nice and clean. About clean designs. I should go to the preview mode. Yeah. Well,
Yo, we got a couple people. Matthias says, Michael, could you adjust your mic level? It's a little bit low.
it's
Ha-
low.
yes.
How about now? Better?
Better for me. I don't know if it's better for
Uh,
folks on stream.
how about now for the streamers, people watching?
It sounds louder even for me too. So let's see how it goes. Folks, if you're watching, just let us know if it's still soft for Michael. What's up, Alex?
Man, I was trying to. How are you monitoring these chats? I don't see it on.
I just have
Oh,
yes.
there
Matthias says better now. It's just I opened the live stream right, and then just looking at the chat as it comes
I
up.
see it.
Essentially, it's just like split screen right now for me.
Yeah, I need to like get a third monitor for this.
I think it's tough because you're also screen sharing a lot of your stuff, so like it's probably easier if one of us. I'm like I'm happy to read the chat and call it out.
I'll leave it up to you. All right. I've been working on this site, well, chipping away at it, and probably took like 6 to 7 months hiatus just for personal family stuff. But I think the idea here, and I did a survey of um, people who sign up on the email list, like what they're looking from it. And I think most of them want some type of instructional video, tutorials, how to get better, karate, etc. So that's kind of what we're doing. Um, and I do have a future content thing that's like on my wish list, maybe a 3 to 5 year plan. Private sessions would be cool through Zoom, guest writers, figuring out a way to do certifications, not necessarily mail people belts, but um, at least get them certified in certain disciplines. Of course, merchandise shop, um, one-off instructional courses. So that's like specific kind of DVDs, stuff like that. And then what's cool about Wix is they have an app tied to the website, so I just gotta like figure that out and link this up. So it'll be cool. I ideally you're like You have 30 minutes to train, pull up the app, you have, "Hey, everyone on the app is working on Naihanchi today. Let me look at all the drills for Naihanchi, and let me do that during my workout," and then something like that would be cool.
Jeremy says your microphone is pretty choppy.
Man, I so
What's going on over there, Michael?
just too many things. Maybe I could get off the Wi-Fi on my work laptop or something. Too many devices.
Too many devices. Also, this is a good time for me to plug your website. If I go to karatebreakdown.com right now, will I see all of this or is it not? Okay.
No, you'll see that sign up form.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in like the back end of the site. Um, one thing, this is kind of what I shared with you, but this type of video content um, section would be kind of cool. Man, you type fast.
Sorry, Jeremy was like, want me to buy you a new one. I just said, I don't know if it's a microphone. Oh, it's just like too many things going on your end. But
Yeah,
continue. You're talking about the videos. Yeah, I think this was super cool. You
if I
gave me a sneak
take,
peek.
I might break the whole thing, so we'll see. I'm gonna unplug this.
Okay, if it breaks, don't worry. I'll do
All right,
some
guys.
stand-up karate comment. No, please don't break it. We got 6 people watching though on a random Friday at 1:50 Pacific. Not bad. I think you broke it. I can't hear you anymore. Oh, you're doubled up, but yeah. Say it again. Yes, I can. Are people? Let me say it one more time. I'm gonna listen on the live stream. Yes, you're good. You're good. Oh, Jeremy says no sound. Yeah. Nope. Bear with us as we go through technical difficulties. I think they can hear. Can you guys hear me? I'm pretty sure they can hear me because I can hear myself on the live stream. The problem is I've muted your window that we're using, and you're still coming through somehow, even though I muted that window. Gone through space and time, and um, yeah, they can hear me, but not you. You're speak again. Still not going through, huh? Negative. Just go back to your choppy mic.
Yes. Can you hear me now? I'm getting an echo, but I hear myself now. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, you they might be able to hear you. They can
Ah,
hear you now.
yeah. Excellent.
Excellent. We don't have to talk about the things
Okay.
behind me, Jeremy. Jay McLean.
Woo!
Um, Michael will need to use language signal. Yeah, you're gonna have to sign everything. But they can hear you now, so you're good.
Excellent. Crisis averted. All right, what were we talking about? This videos page. All right, all right. We gotta click back into this live stream. Yeah, so I think this will be cool, and I think everyone knows it's gonna be cool. So it's just on me, on the bottleneck, on pushing this live. But it would be awesome to see each of like these instructionals broken out by different kata groups, um, and then eventually add into podcasts, um, fight analysis, breakdowns would be cool like that. But just so you guys know, I'm essentially building this from scratch on time after work and family time. So um, it's a little delayed at the moment. But yeah, um, that's kind of the website update. Move on to another topic.
It's a good update. I think everyone is excited for the website. Obviously though, since you have to build everything from scratch, it's gonna take time given family time, job time, wife time, Christmas time soon. Uh lots of things happening. But
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty cool, definitely cool layout. And once it's here, I feel like everyone will be pretty excited about it just to be able to like pop in and see what kata they can, what forum. I don't even know why I'm saying I'm like tripping over my words now. I was gonna say
That's my
it's
life.
cool. It'd be cool to
Yeah.
just see like the video or like work out, like you said, and be like, oh, we're gonna focus this movement. Um, and I think that'll be cool,
Yeah, and I
especially if it's
think
plug and play.
what karate lacks is like a single source, a resource,
Yeah.
even for discussion, right? And I've talked to a couple people about this. It's just like there's so many ways to communicate with people. Um, Reddit, Facebook, whatever, different Facebook groups within Facebook, different Reddit groups within Reddit. Um, and then it's like where you want to hang out where the most people hang out, but then those people might not believe the same stuff you do as well. So it's like hopefully this can be a uniting type of hub that people
It's
can go
also
to.
tough with like all those groups within a group. Like Facebook becomes super spammy over time. We see it all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like people spamming the same stuff to go like check out their site or check out their videos. And like within reason, it makes sense. And if it's like a hey, what do you think about this? Not versus like a promoting their YouTube channel. Um, and I think it's tough. I think it's tough to like get a community that is open-minded enough and willing to look at things and even agree to disagree, and still do it respectfully, right? Like a lot of times what happens, you see it in a lot of your video comments, I'm sure. Like, what do you want? There's no way this is karate. You're gonna tell me karate is throws, or karate has this, which is just crazy to see. Like the spectrum of mindsets, I think, is just so wide. So it's definitely hard to capture a respectful, open-minded community, I think. So hopefully this can kind of spearhead that.
Yeah. At the very least, if it's a small group, it gives that group the ability to share, right? Because I mean, in person, you really only need one other person to train with that's open-minded. So it's like at that in that perspective, a group of like 50 to 100 or a group of a couple hundred that's like all on the same track towards the same direction, even if they're all in different styles and stuff like that, I think that's beneficial. Clear identity from the jump will lead some people out. That's very true. Yeah. Did you have, any questions you wanna bring up? I do have some topics that we're texting back and forth on.
I think we could jump into the topics. I don't have any particular questions. I mean, I think the biggest one is we've kind of beaten the dead horse on in terms of going like practical, the practicality of movements in karate versus like how it's taught, right? Um, and we talked about this a little in our text back and forth, right? Like just even simple roundhouse kicks. You need, it's good to work the kick in the air and kind of in front of a mirror, and especially when you're starting out, but it's also necessary to have the feedback and the impact, right, of like about punching bag or someone holding a shield. And I think it's tough to kind of cover both in a lot of schools, it feels like, because whether it's just the class is too big, or you're trying to account for different skill levels, if you have a set time agenda. And like, I know you went to an MMA school recently, and like you said, you were drilling like combos basically for an hour. It's like, kicking the shield back and forth, and like that's also, I would argue, more efficient in some ways, but it doesn't mean it's like any, it's the same level of like grinding it out almost, and still just like, is this what people are looking for? Is this going to turn someone off? I don't know. But I think it's a tough thing to solve for.
So I would take that idea and then ask you, what do you think is the average karate student's lifetime in a dojo?
Ooh, I would say if a karate student is going until like black belt, let's say an average of like 4 to 5 years is my guess. And then my guess is they start in middle school or something, probably go longer and end up quitting once they either get like a junior black belt or some sort in high school, or they get it before they go to college and then they don't come back after college. That's, from my personal experience, that's just the
Right.
most common thing I see, right? Like, I think adults drop out for other reasons, either before getting a shodan, or they get a shodan and they just stop because they see it as the end goal. I think there's a lot of different things, but I'd say like probably 4 to 5 years sounds about right for like teenager, even adult, because I'm just thinking about my own friends who train and like where they're at and kind of how they're pulling back a bit because of life commitments. And it makes sense. I mean, you've been doing it for 5 years, and if the classes have kind of stayed relatively static, it's
Right.
it's tough to make that uh continue to make that, I guess, commitment.
Yeah. So to that point, what you mentioned was like you do kicks in the air and then progress or concurrently do kicks on a bag. And then we're not even talking about kicks against another person and sparring, right? So that's a whole other skill set of distance management, timing for the
Yeah.
kicks, setting up the kicks, etc. So then if you're like a couple years in and all you're doing is like kicks in the air or kicks on the bag, and you're like, well, I'll just stick it around till I get my black belts, but I know nothing really is going to change. We're not going to like do partner drills like crazy,
Yeah.
or this is how the dojo is. Then it makes sense. Then the belt itself becomes the the goal, and then once you hit that, you're kinda just done, right?
Right. Or kata, I think, is a very common one where people are always, especially starting, like, I can't wait to learn the next one because it's fun and new, and it feels like you're getting,
Yeah,
whether it's true or not, it does feel like, you've got that sense of progression. It's like a game almost, right? You're like, oh, I leveled up. I get
yeah,
these new skills or abilities. So I learned this new form. And I'm like, great, I can do this cool movement. It looks really cool or flashy, maybe, depending on the kata.
yeah. I mean, if you have no other gauge of progress, then it makes sense for people to fixate on learning the next kata because then it's like a visual, physical representation of moving up. So then it's like, why do people at schools or martial arts that don't have belts, like an MMA school or a Muay or kickboxing school, how do they retain students for longer than 4 to 5 years, right? Because then there is no forms, there are no belts.
Yeah. my assumption is we go into, I know we had this as a topic, but we go into like the different types of like karate athletes or martial artists or martial art athletes, right? Where MMA and kickboxing, even judo might feel more sport, and not in a bad way. I don't mean to use sport as any term of like derogatory. I think it's good because I think it makes people have a reason to keep going, whether it's competing or getting some sort of feedback, right? Because there's active like sparring of sorts. It's just like why people find BJJ addictive, right? You kind of get addicted to rolling because you're like you get that instant feedback. You learn something in class, try and put it to the test. You get bodied or you get wrecked, you go again, you try, you get it like 1 out of 10 times. You're like, "Oh man, I got it. It felt really good to get that." Get the grip or get the choke, and then you just keep going and going. You get that kind of like
Yeah.
positive feedback loop. Whereas like karate doesn't. A lot of schools at least don't seem to have some of that feedback loop where it's like, okay, even if you're sparring, is it like point sparring where it's like you're just trying to like tap the guy, or is it, you know, what are we doing? I guess there's not like schools aren't tegumiing. Like they're not like, all right, let's go. Let's just do this for the next hour, which I think would be, that's where I'm at least. That's like that'd be
Yeah.
my ideal school. But um
No, that's a good point. And I would say not even competing outside of school, right? Just competition in general amongst your classmates. Um, and exactly like you said, it's like that feedback loop is short. It's every class, and it's like it makes you wanna come back, even if there aren't any other incentives.
Jay McLean said that dopamine from hard sparring is a proven motivator for retention.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That's how we did it in, maybe a little too hard, but that's how we did it in college, and that was definitely good
Yeah.
motivator.
And even, like, tag sparring is fun for what it is, right?
Yeah.
So and it's why this isn't anything new. Every kid who goes to karate, like, they wanna spar
Yeah.
more than they
Yeah.
wanna do katas down the line. Um, but then you also have to factor in, like, the everyday dad that needs a community to just hang out with. They are getting work in, they're getting a workout in, some exercise, but they also get that feedback loop of losing and winning and
Yeah.
learning new stuff and trying that out in an actual sparring situation, right?
Matthias had a good question. How to change karate training to be more effective and close to the MMA example.
I would say, it's the ratio of what you focus on in class, right? There's nothing wrong, and you should never get rid of fundamentals. You should never get rid of doing forms. But if you have an hour-long class and 40 minutes is stretching fundamentals, katas, and then 5 minutes or 10 minutes is like one technique, and then the last 5 minutes, all right, you guys can go play, right? Whereas, me with like a jiu-jitsu background, it's like 5 minutes warming, stretching, 15 minutes of that technique, and then 15 minutes of trying to make that technique work against a partner, and then you have like half an hour of the actual rolling. So it's not like you're going in there and you're just rolling, and it's not like you're going in there and you're just doing drills. Like it's the ratio of those things that would make karate more engaging.
And I feel like, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Even if you structure a karate class like a BJJ class, like you just mentioned, right? It's easy to follow that thought process of like 5 minute warm up, and then you do like a technique, just try against a partner drills, and then kind of like whether it's flowing or tegumi or something at the end is kind of the bulk of like the last 30 to 20 minutes. It feels like that would be a good, could be a good format. Um,
Yeah, and it kind of goes to like the instructor's responsibility, right? Is he passively leading class, or is he actively creating a class plan or a curriculum before class
right.
starts, right? Even spending that 5 minutes before class starts, just structure it out in your head, like that would give more direction than most karate schools nowadays.
And do you think part of that too is just, a lot of schools nowadays, and I don't know how it used to be, or, the origins of karate. I'm sure we could always talk about that too, but like training in America is much different than maybe overseas, in certain ways, and type of like either it's lifestyle or like the way they've set it up, and like for them maybe they're doing it daily, whereas here someone might only have 2 to 3 days a week available. It's they're not like some 70-year-old grandpa who's able to be like, this is my full-time thing. It's
Yeah,
either like I need to have enough students to support like this is my full-time job, or this is like my side hobby after school, not after school, but after work type job. So it's like a second job on top of their original job, right? And
right.
that probably adds to like the mental like inability or stressors to try and guide the class forward to. I'm sure, like, I don't fault anyone who has a school and it's like their second job, because I'm like, well, I get it. You already have a job you probably are tired from.
No, yeah, totally. And that kind of circles us back to that. What is your purpose of training karate, and what type of karate person are you, right? And I was kind of thinking about that as like I've always wanted to teach, even on like day one. I was like, this is awesome. I can't wait to show somebody, right?
Mhm,
And that little thing in my head got me to like, okay, I can have a group. Let me open a dojo. Let's have a YouTube channel, etc. But then a lot of other people would be, "This is a fun hobby. I'm happy I get to move around and
mhm.
pick a bag." And there's 0 thought of, like, anything outside of what I'm getting personally, right? So
Yeah.
and that kinda brought me to, like, well, who are the karate people of today? People who train purely for competition and that would turn them more into athletes than artists, right?
Mhm.
And then there's the other spectrum where it's like, it's all about the culture, all about the artistry, trained for health and peace, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
It feels like those two opposite ends of the spectrum is also, in a way is killing karate in some ways, because people are going off in too far on one end of each spectrum, and when you get to that wide of a gap, I feel like it becomes hard for either side to be like, we're doing the same thing, or like it's in the spirit of karate, and try and keep the unity or the peace. And then it just fragments communities even more, right? Like if you imagine everyone is on the spectrum somewhere, then it's like, if you're going towards more of the sport and you're caring a little bit more about like winning competitions or trophies, and you're a little bit more engaged in hard sparring, or you're more engaged in like the mental aspect or the tradition, and you start every class with meditation, mokuso or something. And it's like it feels like there is a hard way to reconcile all of it, because realistically too, if we just think who is doing these things and what people are getting out of it, every person's needs are different, everyone's doing it for a different reason. So that's what fragments it in the first place, versus like I could argue that like most people could have different reasons for doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but they probably all still get a lot out of it, right? Like every class, whether it's like I want to just be fit or I want to compete, you probably get the same equal amount of like satisfaction from each
Mhm.
class, versus like
Yeah.
karate, it's a little more fragmented depending on your school.
That's interesting because the class isn't tailored to those jitsu guys and their needs. The class is
Mhm.
the same, so what
Mhm.
you're getting out of it is different. Whereas, I mean, if I wanted to go to karate and spar and we spent the whole time doing kata, like, I would hate that class, right?
Right.
I would just be like, "Why am I here? Should I show up next time?"
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's interesting. So, there's 2 things there. It's funny because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have the cultural aspect from Japanese martial arts, Okinawan arts.
Yeah.
So I do see a lot, like, now on social media that people are, like, figuring it out themselves, and they're kind of repeating stuff that has been said for, like, hundreds of years. It's like,
Yeah.
Like, I train hard because it helps me, like, calm down and not be mean in my everyday life or
Mhm.
something. And it's like, this is a mind-blowing discovery I had, um, through my training. Whereas if you read, like, old Chinese texts, it's like, yeah, train hard and you're gonna be calm.
Right.
Another thing is, like, I'm so into the pure combative part of karate, but what combat is in today's society is generally, like, the entertainment, MMA, face off, pushing each other
Yeah.
type thing. And, I've been noticing, like, for Karate Combat, which is probably the most popular karate channel now, they're kinda shifting to that to get more views, right? So it's you get people who grew up in karate and trained karate, and maybe in their home dojo, they're very traditional and respectful, but to get more views and to get more eyes on it that aren't karate people, they're kinda adopting a lot of the entertainment, WWE, MMA type of thing. So it's interesting what balance needs to be created or what needs to be pushed to get different, I guess what you want out of it, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
trying to monetize a fighting channel, then it makes sense, you want more eyes on it, but at what point does that take away the roots of what you're trying to do, right? Roots of karate.
Yeah, it's a little bit like boxing and kind of the direction boxing's been heading, I feel like in recent
Right.
years with the entertainment and the more of this showmanship even before the match that's happening nowadays with like Logan Paul and whoever else is. I haven't been following it, but that's just what I briefly see. Jay McLean made a good point about karate. He said there's a definite immaturity in karate to karate too, and that's why adults usually bail. And I think that's it's true. It's hard to find a karate class where it's like mostly adults, right? Usually it's a mix of teens and adults, for better or for worse, and even different skill levels, depending on where you're going. But that feels pretty accurate to me. So it can be tough. I feel like if you're like I don't know, like a dad and you're like 40 and I don't know, your partner is like a 13-year-old kid or something. You're like, should I punch him? I don't know. Do I punch? Like, there's always that hesitation when it's a different age, size, for sure, even among adults. So I'm sure it's exasperated too when it's like I'm an adult and that's like a kid. So I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I was running the kids program for my jiu-jitsu class. Once that ended, we kind of absorbed some of the older kids into the
Mhm.
adults class, and we're kind of running into that now, where it's like 90% of them are adult males, and then we have a couple like 12, 13-year-old boys, right? So it's like, do you just hang out in the corner, or do we really need to tone everything down and kind of just let you work? But yeah.
What else? What else you got? I know you have multiple topics, but
Oh, I got one more. Do you have anything for me before we do this one?
no, let's go to the next one.
Alright. What is your ideal,
Uh-oh.
tournament format? Remember
Oh,
this one?
phew. Like, what is my ideal? This can go many ways.
Okay.
A tournament format.
Well, let me set it up. We have currently what karate tournaments usually are, right? It's broken up between, kata and sparring, and generally, the kata people usually don't go into the sparring side or vice versa. They're separate disciplines. Um, Kata is usually graded by, um, I don't know, command of the kata, exactness, straight lines, I guess more aesthetics, very sharp looking punches. The sparring can either be point sparring with like the foam gear all the way to full contact sparring. It can range from distance fighting or like in Kudo, you can grab and take down to the ground and stuff like that, and they wear a face shield. So pretty big spectrum on that. I guess the spectrum for karate is there's also, like, the open kata, yelling and screaming at the top of your lungs.
Yeah, yeah, we've all
There's
seen
that
it.
too.
Yeah. The baton whirling kind of,
Yeah.
not to yeah, I'm trying not to be super mean, but I get what you're saying. It's very different from like a traditional bow kata versus, the bow katas that they do. So it's just different things. I mean, I think for me, like there's me as the martial artist, and then there's me as like a spectator. And if I think about me as a spectator, I'd say like karate tournaments are boring as shit, man. Like when if you've ever gone to one, you're there for like hours waiting to compete. Sometimes there's not a lot of people in your division, depending on how big the tournament is. And sometimes you're like out in round one, or you go on and you do a second kata. If you're doing the katas, you spar another person, and it just it's not very efficient for sure, and it doesn't feel very rewarding. At least for me, when I went, probably because I'm not in karate or train for the purposes of sports or winning trophies or anything like that. I guess if you really like that stuff, then it could be interesting. But so I think from the spectator standpoint, the number one thing I would change is like how do we like what should be the main event almost, right? Like what is the thing that we want people to kind of watch? And to me, it feels like it should be it could be kata, I guess. I think the problem with kata is everyone's making fun of karate all the time because they're like, you guys are just doing these stupid forms and you don't do anything with it. So either I don't know how you solve for that, other unless you do a kata and then you somehow show like you do in your videos, right? Like, are you able to show some of those movements in action and like, hey, this is actually how I might use some of it? That would be cool. It would slow a tournament down. It doesn't feel realistic in a tournament setting, which is why I think like sparring is probably the should be the highlight. Um, which I admit could go more towards the martial versus the artist aspect of karate. But I feel like if you could do sparring with takedowns and throws or with control. I don't know, man. Something that's just a little bit more live than a lot of the like, hopping back and forth, tap, one tap, ippon, boom. There you go, done. It's just not as entertaining, especially if you watch an MMA fight and then you watch this, you're like, dang, like some MMA fights can end pretty fast, 'cause, they get the knockout. Um, they're on the ground, they're just getting wailed on, but it's still like it's entertaining, and part of that is probably the backstories, which I think lacks for. I mean, I don't know any karate backstory or I don't watch karate sport, period. So who knows? There's definitely that part that's lacking too. There's not an entity that's like pushing a narrative forward, which probably is half the battle, right? Is if you can get some cool narrative going, then people are like bought in and they want to watch it. I think from a like if I were to go to a tournament, what I would want to see, I think for sure for kata, there needs to be something other than just like it looks pretty because it feels like 99% of the time it's whoever's and some styles just no offense to them, just kind of look uglier, right? Like right. I'm like, oh man, I don't know, man. That like Shotokan does really well because the stances are really deep and it just looks aesthetically more pleasing compared to some other styles where you're like, I don't know, man. That's just doesn't look great, and it's entirely dependent on who's on the judging panel too, right? If you're a judge and you're a certain style, like, do you judge your style better, or do you just go by looks, right? It's kind of hard to tell, right? So I don't know, but those are just like thoughts that I'm blurting out, but I don't know what you think about
No, those
about
are
tournaments.
those are good points. I think so there are tournaments that have like a self-defense portion and then like the bunkai portion of a kata, right? So you show the kata like a three-man team and then person in the middle stays and the other two attack him. So you show the bunkai for that. And then for sparring too, there's like continuous sparring versus point sparring. So there has been ways to make it a little more entertaining. Um, so so let me lay down this idea to you, see what you think.
Okay.
And this wouldn't be like nationwide needs a narrative, whatever. This is like your local tournaments. How do we represent karate? so then you need to split the person up into the different disciplines to become complete martial artists. So then they do need kata, they do need sparring. So then what type of sparring is it? So I would say all ranges, and it's on a point-based system based on just like in judo, like certain throws have higher points because they're
Mhm.
harder to execute, right? So you have it could be a kick to the head, maybe 4 points versus a punch to the head is only two because it takes more
Yeah,
setup or blah blah blah. Takedowns, more points. But then you can go to the ground and then do the submission and stuff like that.
takedown with submission, more points, right? Versus just
Right.
takedown or something, takedown and punch. I don't know.
Yeah. But then your points are added up at the end of that round, and you move on to the next section where you got to do kata, and you're racking up points there. So it's like a scoreboard
Hmm.
in different areas, and at the end you announce the winners based on the
Total
cumulative
points.
points. Yeah,
That'd be cool because then it would force someone to actually be like complete versus just focusing
yeah,
on one area. Um, and that way, people who are like, "Oh, you're good at kata, but can you actually spar?"
right.
You'd be like, "Oh, you can. Look at that. You got points." I think that's a really cool idea.
And then you can have like a self-defense demonstration section as well. That's like you can make it rehearsed, and then you could have it spontaneous where it's like they draw out, okay, person grabs your wrist. Here's what's your response here?
Yeah,
Type of thing. That'd be kind of cool.
that'd be super cool to just like do a spontaneous one without someone just like getting blasted. It's just like he grabs the wrist and just like, ah! Just like, oh
Yeah.
no, oh god.
Make sure everyone signs their liability waiver.
Yeah, the waivers are all signed. It's like, no, don't sue us if we're doing this in the school gymnasium. It's not the school's responsibility.
Yeah.
No, that's a good idea. Just to be able to add up the points from kata and sparring and make people compete in both within.
Yeah, because that might be a way for someone who's not too great at kata to rack up points in sparring, but it's not like you're just sparring and
Yeah,
and you have like zero kata. You got to be able to focus on kata too.
and it would be interesting because I feel like if you were to take that and a lot of tournaments started developing it, I wonder if every style would just start. I don't know if in a dream scenario, if this became like the top format and a lot of tournaments started using it and you just keep going up and up and up the chain, would then people just start drilling certain types of throws or kicks because those become
Yeah,
higher points, so you
like
want it right
fundamentals. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
So then you get to set the rules to make it more practical, right? Because then it's
yeah,
like, because in point sparring, there's like no punches directly to the face. You got to hit the side of the helmet
yeah,
type thing. Whereas if you allowed it to a certain degree, then you would force people to train that who are training for the tournament. So it's a little more practical.
yeah. That'd be kind of cool. You can kind of guide them using the tournament like ruling and be like, hey, start doing this more instead of that, or they make a change to the rule set or something.
Yeah. I mean, you extrapolate that down to the dojo level, then if you structure your classes around that way, and you're like, hey, you're hitting all these marks on sparring, but we can't really rank you up because your katas are kind of lacking, so etc.
40 minutes late. I'll have to catch it later. Love your videos. Thanks, Thighs. It's a good username.
Oh, nice. Just got that. Uh,
Got any
anything
other?
else? Anything else for you?
Um, no, I mean, I feel like that was a really good discussion. I don't have any other topics unless someone from the audience has anything they'd love to hear while we have you on. Since I don't know when we'll have another one. So this is your chance to ask Michael a question.
Well, I said we were gonna get one in before the end of the year,
Yeah,
and it happened within a week. So just gotta
that's true.
give it
That's
time.
true. But yeah, I mean, if no one has any questions, that's fine too. I mean, you guys. They know how to reach you, whether it's through YouTube comments or through Facebook. So Dominic says,
Maybe.
Michael, your mic is a little low.
How about now? I think that's better.
Maybe I'm just loud. It's possible too.
No, there's a slider that I left it a little low, but it's whatever. Um, do you know
Do you know
Sensei?
Kikuno Sensei and his theory behind kicks, throws, and punches?
I do not, but I will search him up.
Do you have a link you can throw for us, Matthias? Just because I feel like if I just type in, I don't know,
Do I do it here?
will I get the right one? Is it Katsunori Kikuno?
Oh, it's MMA guy. Yeah, I've seen his clips here and there. Yeah, I'll watch more of his stuff, but it's legit.
Teaches using Naihanchi and Seisan as bases. Nice. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Katsunori Kikuno. His style is Okinawan Kempo Karate and Kyokushin.
Yeah, man. Someone trying to improve karate and MMA, more power to you. Do more than me.
Yeah, we can't all just go and compete in MMA. All right, you got a family, man. Gotta be a good family man too, Michael.
I gotta keep my brain cells.
Yeah, for many reasons. Think of the think of the family.
Cool. I will check out more of his videos. Probably something to talk about in the future. If that's it, we could stop the stream now. Maybe try to hit it again um, in the new year, or we'll see if before then as well.
Yeah, I mean, if not in the new year, we can always try and do something impromptu when you're here.
Yeah,
We can be in the same room.
yeah, that works.
That'd be kind of cool to do a IRL one when you're over here. If we have the time. I know we're both technically working, so both now and then. So no one go share this that
I'm
wide. No,
ignoring my phone right now.
none,
Yeah.
none of our workplaces watch these, so it's fine. Cool, man. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Check out the VOD, leave comments if you've got ideas of things you want us to talk about or go over. If there's anything you think would be cool to see when we're together in person too, I think that's good. Oh, Dominic, what are you thinking while doing kata?
Quick answer, depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. If I'm trying to think about the attacker, then my kata gets very aggressive and very tiring and um, very gritty. If I'm just trying to memorize moves and stuff, then it's very nice and relaxed. But you could do kata in hundreds of different ways. You could do it nice and flowery, so you could work on connecting your techniques together. You think about pure self-defense, so you're just doing 2 or 3 movements at a time and repping that out and moving on to the next. You think about just pure memorization, so you start from the beginning, go until you mess up, start over, go until you mess up, start over. So you're just gonna keep going and going.
Cool. It's a great answer on what are you thinking while doing kata. Um, Matthias is, I think, sending us a link. This is demonstrating using the Hunchi principle to punch. Um,
Matthias, I will check out that link once you send it. So I'm gonna sign off.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone, for
guys.
tuning in.